Mrs. M. Priyadarshini, ME MBA, is doing PhD, is currently working as teaching fellow in the Department of IST, Anna University, Chennai. She completed a master's in software engineering from Anna University. She has about 10 years of experience in handling courses for UG and PG. She was serving as technical evangelist for corporate over 4 years in Java enterprise technologies, software engineering, databases, OOAD, and design patterns. She is proficient in handling IT projects as well into concept development for enterprises. She is doing a research in the area of web services security. Her other areas of interest include software engineering, OOAD, databases, enterprise technologies, and service-oriented architecture. She holds many journal publications and conference proceedings in her research area.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in Computer Science Java Part 15. So in this session, we are going to have a look on what is scrollable result set and about metadata. So result set metadata, about database metadata, and how exception handling is done in JDBC. So first we will see what is a result set. Java.sql.resultSet object contains the data in rows or column format. By default, the traversing data in result set object is only in one direction, forward, but it is not always required. So java.sql.resultSet, as stated, it is available in java.sql package. So this object of this holds a set of rows and columns. So whenever I execute a query, so already we have seen in the previous sessions that whenever I execute a query, the result of the query is pointed by a result set. So now your result set objects points towards a result of a query. So result of a query will be in form of columns and rows. So in that case, your result set is going to hold a set of rows as well as columns. And then whenever I try to navigate or traverse through my result set, it will be navigated only in forward direction, so by a default option. But it is not necessary that you should always move in forward direction. There are also possibilities that you can move in either directions and from any position of your result set. So that is what is scrollable result set. Sometimes we require traversing data in both forward and backward direction. So your JDBC 2.0 version support this feature and many more. With scrollable result set object, you can move your cursor forward, backward, and to specific rows within the result set. So your normal result set before your JDBC 2.0, we don't have the option of moving your result set cursor to forward direction as well as your backward direction. Whereas in after your 2.0, JDBC 2.0, we have been given with the option in order to move your result set forward as well as move your cursor of the result set forward as well as backward. And then in that case, we name that as a scrollable result set, whereas the result set is same. So we are going to set the properties and make that particular result set to scroll forward, backward for the absolute position as well as for relative positions. So we can have a look on what are all the types of result set we have. One is result set dot type forward only. So this is what is default. Default, it is not scrollable, that is the result set cursor moves forward only from before the first row after the last row. So it means that in case of your type forward only type of result set, so I am setting a property of my result set to be type forward. So in this case, what happens is you can only move your result set cursor to forward each row at a time, and then you can start from the first row. So there is a method which makes your result set cursor to move to your first row, and then I execute till the last row. So I can navigate only through forward direction whenever I set this particular property to be type forward only. Whereas the next type of result set is result set type scroll insensitive. So it is a scrollable result set. Its cursor can move both forward and backward relative to the cursor's current position, and the cursor can move to an absolute position also. But it is not sensitive to the changed data, means if underlying data is changed, it is not reflected in your result set object. So it means that for example, I have executed a query and the result of the query is now available in my result set. So, in that case, if I use this option of type scroll insensitive, so when there is another person or another user or the same user is accessing the particular data that is available in your result set. So, your result set will be pointing towards a set of rows and columns. If somebody is trying to change, if another user is trying to change your row data or a column data, so in that case the changes will not be reflected in the current result set object that you are using. So, the current cursor position to your forward as well as to your backward. Also, I can give some relative index and then I can go in for that particular record from your current cursor position. The only thing is the changes that a user does at that point of me using the particular result set will not get reflected in the result set object. So, that gets reflected in your next type of result set. So, your next type of result set is result set dot type scroll sensitive. So, here the result set is scrollable again. Its cursor can move in both forward and backward direction relative to the current cursor position, and it can move to an absolute position also, but it is sensitive to changed data. Means if underlying data is changed, it reflects in the result set object. So, for example, if one user is trying to access a particular table, the contents in the particular table using a particular query that has been returned as a result to your result set. So, in that case, if another user is trying to change the data that is available in the row or in the column, so in that case whatever the change that person is making, so think that I am in the third row and then I am trying to move to my second row or I am trying to move to my sixth row where some changes has been made. So, in that cases whenever I move my cursor at that point of time, the result set will hold the data that has been changed by the other user. So, it means that whenever you scroll, it is sensitive to the changes that is made by an other user. So, normally whenever you do a transaction, there will be concurrent users accessing a particular table. So, I cannot say that only one particular user will be accessing a particular table, a row or a column. There will be multiple users who will be using those particular data. So, in that case, if it is scroll sensitive, then the changes made will be automatically updated using this particular result. So, in real time scenario, normally they will use only this scroll sensitive type of result set. So, next we will see about types of result set concurrency. So, here result set dot concurrent read only. It is default. It indicates the concurrency mode for the result set read only. So, result set dot concurrent updatable. It indicates the concurrency mode for a result set object that may be updated. So, this is related to the concurrency mode. So, previously what we have seen is with relationship to your data as well as whether it's scrollable or not scrollable. Whereas here this is related to concurrency. Whenever multiple users are trying to update the data, whether this result set data, so I say sensitive, if I have set my result set to be sensitive, then all these are applicable. So, it means that if it is sensitive, so when one person is trying to read, so I say that result set dot concurrent read only. So, in case if it is concurrent dot read only, my result set can only allow one person to read the data, and then other person, if he is going to access it, he can only read, he cannot write the data provided somebody is using that particular data. So, this is related to concurrency. Whereas, normally whenever I say sensitive, the updates, the changes that has to be made. So, what changes that has to be made, how the changes could be made is said in your concurrency, type of the concurrency. So, here concurrent updatable. So, it means that whenever one particular user is using a result set, that is the data is fetched to a result set, and another user is trying to update it, whether I can allow that particular update or not. So, I can set my result set type to be updatable. So, in that case, so whenever a person is trying to read, another person could be able to update that particular record set or not. So, you can see here we have class dot for name. So, already we have seen how to make a connectivity with your database, and then we have also seen how we are going to have a result set. What do you mean by statement? We have seen what all various types of statements available in your JDBC, all these options we have seen. So, anyway, I will intimate you what is the syntax and what this syntax refers to. Class dot for name. So, this is your driver name. So, next I am making a connectivity. So, here while I make the connectivity, I have to specify the driver type. So, here I specify that it is JDBC MySQL. So, localhost mentions that the particular database is available in the same system in which currently you are using, and then your username and then your password. So, I am creating a statement, connection dot create statement. Here this is a change what we have included. So, in your previous case we have not mentioned any parameter for your method create statement, whereas here we have included whenever we create a statement. So, what type of result set we have to use. So, whereas in your previous options I have just given you that create statement method does not have any parameters, whereas here we set two parameters, one for your type of scroll and another one for your concurrency. So, you can see that result set dot type scroll insensitive. So, this is a variable, a value is predefined. Result set dot type scroll insensitive, it means that this variable will be set to this particular parameter. Here concurrent dot read only. So, now this particular statement will have a property that the scroll is insensitive. It means that if somebody is trying to change the data of that particular result set, then in that case this is not sensitive to the changes that is being made. So, my result set will only hold the data that is being fetched at that point of time when I have executed the result set, Whereas concurrent read only, it means that I can allow only concurrent read options, but I will not allow another person to update while I am reading a particular result set. So, here statement dot execute query. So, you know that there are two methods, one is execute update and the other one is execute query. So, execute update is normally used for DDL commands and your DML commands, whereas execute query is used to write a query. So, here we are trying to access all the rows and all the columns of a particular table EMP. So, now in your result set will hold all the rows and columns of this particular table. So, here I call a method result set dot next. So, already we have seen what is the use of next method. So, next method will move my cursor to the next position. Also, I have told you that in case of result set, to access the first row you have to call your result set dot next at least once. So, this will point to your first row provided if you call the method rs dot next. So, this rs dot next will return a boolean value. If it is true, it means that you are having a row next to the cursor position. So, it means that my cursor is in one position. If I give rs dot next, it moves to the next position. If in next position you have a record, so then at that point from the result set you can access all your columns that is available in the result set. So, here I have given display res. So, it will display the entire res. So, now you can see that this res is a result set which holds the property, these two properties. So, here it means that it is scroll insensitive, nobody can change the value of employee table while I process my particular result set. It means that read only. If it is insensitive, even if somebody could change, I will not be able to get the changes in my result set. Whereas, here I have given that it is concurrent read only. So, it means that only concurrently persons can read it. So, it means that there is no possibility that whenever I am using this particular type of result set, another person or another user could make changes in my result set. One is nobody can change it, they can only read it, and also other one is it is insensitive. So, even changes will be made, this result set will not get reflected. Now, we will have a short break. So, welcome back after the break. Now, we will continue our session with types of metadata and then exception handling mechanism in JDBC. So, here we have few methods of your scrollable result set: public void update string. So, I am trying to update the string and then I am specifying a column index and what string I am trying to update. So, it means that this method update string, right, whenever this method update string is called, it will be pointing to one particular row. At that particular, so it may be in second row, third row, fourth row, any row of your result set. So, in that particular row with the particular given column index, I need to change the contents with a particular string value. So, that is what is the use of method update string. Changes the string in specified column to the value of s. Next is public void update row. So, this updates the current row by updating the corresponding row in the database. So, whenever I am in a particular row and then my database, some other user would have changed my data in the database. So, in that case, if I say update row, it means that whatever the data that is available in your database gets updated to your result set. So, updates the current row by updating the corresponding row in the database. So, next is scrollable result set, few other methods here, public boolean first. So, this first method will always point to the first row. So, we have already seen that till your 2.0 we do not have an option to move to first last. So, we do not have these methods, whereas now we have the methods to directly move into the first row, last row, whereas we have only been using in your previous sessions and all, we have only been using next method, and then we will be accessing only the next row, whereas we will not be able to move to any other position. And also one more thing is, still once we come to the end, then again I have to execute the result set once again, then only I can start from the first row. So, it means I have to go to scratch, and then my result set should be loaded with the new data, and then I have to start from my first position. So, whereas here we have option to scroll down and scroll up. So, we have been given with methods in order to move to your first row, second row and all the other rows. So, you can see here move the cursor to the first row, whereas here public boolean absolute int and row. So, absolute means, so move the cursor to specified row. So, what is difference between your absolute and relative? So, whenever I say absolute, I have 5 rows, I say absolute 5. So, it means that I directly go to 5. I may be in the second row, or I may be in my third row, or I may be in my fourth row, but whenever I give an absolute, so it means that it will directly move on to the fifth row irrespective of the current cursor position. So, even we can also have relative positioning from your current cursor position. So, whenever I say relative, so it means that from your current cursor position I have to move 2 rows, 3 rows, that also I can do. So, for example, in case I want to see the second largest value of a salary or some fields in my table. So, in that case I can just move on to my particular number of rows from the cursor position. I may be in any position, just I can move my cursor position relatively, or I can move it absolutely to a particular position. So, here you can see that we have scrollable result set for a prepared statement. So, whatever the create statement that we have seen already for a normal statement, you know what is difference between your normal statement, your prepared statement and callable statement. So, your statement will execute a static query. So, I have to build a query and that will be run statically. So, dynamically I cannot pass any parameters to my normal statement, whereas if I am using a prepared statement, I can dynamically set some values to my prepared statement and then I can execute it later on. So, I can set all the input values and then I can execute that particular prepared statement. And the next type is callable statement. So, in case of callable statement, I can just call the a procedure which is already been created, compiled as a part of PLSQL code. So, I have a PLSQL code which has already been created, compiled and executed. So, just I will make a call to that particular procedure and get the results back. So, here a scrollable result set in case of prepared statement. So, here prepared statement object connection.prepared statement. So, I am giving a string. So, this normally this SQL string is nothing but a particular string with a set of question marks. So, question mark indicates that you are going to dynamically pass some parameters to these question mark normally. So, for example, instead of having select star from employee, I will normally write in case of prepared statement select star from employee where department is equal to, or select star from employee where employee ID is equal to. So, it means that value will be passed dynamically. So, in that case also I can set my scroll type. It may be set to insensitive, sensitive. We have already seen various scroll types. You can also set that. And here result set dot concurrent updatable. So, it means that one particular person is accessing, so another person can update that particular result set values. So, next is about metadata. So, the simple meaning of metadata is data about data. So, there are two metadata available in JDBC API. One is result set metadata and other one is database metadata. Here result set metadata, it is used to make descriptive information about the result set object like number of columns, name of the columns and data type of the columns. Result set metadata holds the data about the result set. So, normally what do we have in your result set? A result of a particular query. So, I normally execute a query and that query will be, the result of the query will be fetched to your result set. Now, whenever I execute a query, if I say select star from EMP, as a programmer I am not aware of what are all the columns, rows available in that particular database. So, for accessing all those rows and columns, the details about the rows and columns, I can extract the metadata information of the particular row and column, like what is the column type, data type, what is the column name, and what is the particular column number. So, whether it may be first column, second column. So, that purely depends on the query you write. So, that information could be extracted using result set metadata. So, here we have seen one particular prepare statement in which we have two parameters, and then next we can look into result set for prepared statement which has three parameters. One is about scroll type, another one is concurrency, and next one is about your cursor. Okay. So, it means that whenever I am trying to make changes, so hold your cursor over your commit. So, whatever the commit that would be done, your cursor position will be hold over that particular commit. So, here we have three parameters for your result set type, which could give information regarding your scroll, regarding your concurrency control, and your commit. Here result set are created using return callable statement objects also. By default type, what we have is type forward only and have a concurrency level of concurrent read only. So, callable statement, as already told you that whenever I execute a callable statement, a result of that particular procedure will be returned back. So, in that case also I can specify the parameters regarding my result set, about my concurrency as well as about my scroll. So, here we can have a method called prepare call. So, in that prepare call method we normally give the SQL and then result set type, result set concurrency, and about the holdability. So, this holdability gives about our transaction details. You can keep a result set available across transaction boundaries for use by multiple JDBC calls. So, it means that multiple JDBC calls from multiple users could be had on one particular result set data. So, result set metadata, I am describing the result set metadata here. It is used to make descriptive information about the result set object, like number of columns, name of columns, and data type of the columns. First, we have to create object of result set metadata by calling get metadata method from the result set object. After execution of the query, it may be any type of statements, the results would have been moved into my result set object, and after I move all my results in the result set object, then I call the method called get metadata. So, which will fetch me information regarding the data that is fetched as a result of the query and result of my query, or you can say that as a result of the statement to my result set. So, what data I hold and all the information regarding the data that is available in the result set. So, these are all the methods that is available in result set metadata interface. Get column count, I can have number of columns in the particular result set. Get column name, particular column name. Get column type, what is the column type. Get table name, what is the table name of that particular result set. Here you can see I am executing a query. So, in this query the result set, that is all the employees will be moved on to RES, that is your result set. So, here I have result set metadata, my result set metadata object, get metadata. So, now my RSMD will hold the information regarding the table now, because since I have used only one single table, I have selected all the rows and columns of the table. So, the entire data regarding the table will be fetched to this particular RSMD. So, I can have my column count method. Here for all the columns I can individually extract the column heading. So, for my first column, so if I have 10 columns, I can get information regarding my first column, what is the heading of my first column, second column, third column, till the end of how many columns I have. So, next is about your database metadata. So, you know what is difference between your database and your result set. So, your database is collection of tables, whereas your result set is a result of an query execution. So, if I want to know information regarding the database, so as I say my database may be MySQL database, it may be an Oracle database, and then it may be an SQL Server database, any type of database. So, I want to know information regarding the database. So, then I have to go in for using my database metadata. So, here java.sql.database metadata interface provides comprehensive information about the database. it contains the information about DBMS and all the objects in the database, like all the tables, catalog name, view, stored procedure, etc. So normally in a database we have various database objects. So that depends purely on the DBMS. Some DBMS may have few more objects, some may not have. So we can have tables, we can have synonyms, and then we can have views, and then we can have objects like procedures. Procedures are also objects. So in some of the DBMS we have options called packages also. So I can also have I can have information regarding all these objects that is available in the database using this database metadata. So we need to create database metadata object by calling getMetadata method from the connection interface. So the following are common methods that is available in your database metadata interface. So here we have getCatalogs, so which will give you a result set of all the catalogs. So catalog is again it doesn't hold one particular object, it's combination of objects. So int get database major version, int get database minor version. So I can get the database versions, and then I can get the database product name, my product version, my default transaction isolation. So get drivers major version, my get driver minor version, what driver I am using to access that particular database, and then my driver name and driver version. So here you can see that from database metadata I am calling connection.getMetadata. From that I am having a database metadata object. So I am accessing all the methods. I am accessing all the methods which is related to my database metadata. So I think already we have seen what are all the methods we have. Just we are using your database metadata with all these methods. So next we will have a look on how do we do exception handling in JDBC. Here you may have lot of options, like I am trying to access a database, a column which is not available, a particular row I am trying to fetch, whereas that particular I don't have any rows in that particular result set. Like this I have various options where exceptions could be raised, and based on the exceptions, so I am trying to open a connection. So opening a connection may lead to some exception. So whereas the driver may not be available, you were not able to instantiate the driver, you may not be able to establish the connectivity with that particular driver, your username may be wrong, your password may be wrong. Again, when you come inside your table, the table may not be available, your row, your column, whatever the reasons for you to get errors in all your fetching your data or executing your statement. So in all that case there is a possibility of exception being raised. So all these exception comes under a type SQL exception. So this is again available in java.sql package. So you can see that JDBC exception handling is very similar to that of your normal Java exception handling, but for JDBC the most common exception you will deal with is java.sql.sql exception. A SQL exception can occur both in the driver as well as in the database. When such an exception occurs, an object of type SQL exception will be passed to the catch clause. So it means that your catch should catch the SQL exception. So the common methods that is available in your exception class is also available in your SQL exception class. So you already know that get error code. So this will get the error number associated with that particular exception. What is the error number of that particular exception? Next is get message. So gets the JDBC driver's error message for an error handled by the driver, and or gets the Oracle error number and the message for the database error. So here there are two possibilities. So the error could have been raised due to some problem in your driver, or it may be some problem in your database. So based on that particular error will be raised, so that will be given as a message. So the value of the message is set. So I already told you that whenever you have an exception, there is a field or there is a member called message which will be set with the value whenever an exception is thrown. So that is nothing but that gives you an information regarding what type of exception it is. So the message will hold the information regarding a type of exception. So your get message will fetch the value. So it's a accessor method which fetches the values of the type of the exception. So next you have another important method called print stack trace. So this prints the current exception or throwable and it backtraces to the standard error stream. Error stream, whenever, so think that I am in the main method and inside the main method I am trying to instantiate a class. So while I instantiate the class and I call a method, so where in that method I have written in connectivity. So my connectivity would have caused the exception, and that exception will be thrown, and from there that will move on to your main method, and from your main method your exception will be catched. So, in all these cases I have a stacked trace for my particular exception. So, this is thrown in sequence of steps. So, from a method call to your other method call, then to your main method, it goes as a particular stream of your error. So, that stream will be printed. So, using this you can try to resolve where the corresponding exception has been raised, and you can solve that particular problem of exception. So, whenever you write a code, whenever you try to catch an exception, this method will help you in identifying from where exactly your particular exception has been thrown, even though you have a set of method execution. So, by utilizing the information available from the exception object, you can catch an exception and continue your program appropriately. Particularly about your JDBC, your opened connection, your open statement, all these should be closed in your exception handling mechanism. So that because many users will be using your connection or your statement which is accessing that particular connectivity. So, in that case, if you properly close, then only they can follow all the concurrency mechanism. They would have set their result set concurrency type to a particular type, and if you close it abnormally and come out of your program, and if your connection is not closed till you get a proper garbage collection process, nobody else can use it. So, in this session we have seen about scrollable result set, about metadata, types of metadata, that is your database and result set metadata, and also we have seen how your exception handling is done in your JDBC. So, from this session you will be able to answer questions such as how to make a result set scrollable, what is metadata, and give two types of metadata that is used in Java, particularly how to access metadata from the connection, and when an SQL exception is created. So, at which scenario SQL exception is created. So, other than this result set, we also have an option called row set. So, this row set is wrapped across your result set. So, I have a result set, and then using a wrapper called row set, they have given more number of options which could be performed on your result set. Thank you.